The struggle between light and dark is one that permeates both historical and modern media. It is a generational tale that resonates with anyone possessing a shred of humanity, regardless of when or where they were born. However, this theme can also feel unoriginal. Without a solid background, well-developed concepts, and compelling characters, creating something fresh within this framework is exceedingly difficult. So, what happens if we make this inherent battle of polarities between the Lord of Vampires, Dracula, and his half-human son Alucard? Throw in a large explorable castle, and a myriad of foes standing in the beautiful young man's way, and you get Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Released for the Sony PlayStation in 1997 across all territories, the game is fondly remembered and revisited by fans across the world, year after year. And in this video, I'm going to explore why this is. I am certain that most of you are familiar with Castlevania Symphony of the Night, known as悪魔城ドラキュラX,月下の夜想曲in Japan. And if you are not, then surely you have played one of the many Spawn, Metroidvanias, which have proliferated the indie scene in the past decade or so. I first discovered the game in 1997, the year of its release. At a time when most developers were shifting their design philosophies to 3D, Konami decided that for its latest Castlevania, it wasn't going to follow the pack. Developed by Toru Hagihara and Koji Igarashi, the game follows as a direct sequel to Castlevania Rondo of Blood, an unprecedented instance within the series, as previous games were only loosely connected. Symphony of the Night begins at the conclusion of Rondo of Blood. Richter Belmont stands atop one of the towered spires of the ancient castle of evil, poised to climb the final staircase to confront his nemesis. As he makes his ascent, a broken clock tower looms in the background, struggling to keep time whilst watching mercilessly in pensive anticipation of the outcome of the fated encounter. Agile and athletic, Richter wields his family's whip, the Vampire Killer, with finesse, and employs the use of sub-weapons such as a bottle of holy water and a crucifix capable of blinding all with searing light. His confrontation with Dracula sees him facing off against terrible magic and Dracula's true hideous form that sucks all into a void of space. Upon Dracula's defeat, the scene ends, frozen into a Polaroid that burns away like the remnant of a memory. Perhaps the events witnessed were subjective fantasy, evidenced by the reappearance of Dracula's castle a mere 4 years later, stirring the blood of a young noble Dampier. On a stormy eve, we follow the footfalls of Alucard as he traverses the forest on the outskirts of Dracula's castle, effortlessly gliding into the grounds moments before the drawbridge is raised and the doors are sealed. A kin of evil who does not follow in his father's footsteps, Alucard's sole purpose in entering the castle is to investigate why it has reappeared and put a stop to whomever caused it to materialize. He knows that Dracula rises every century or so, and when the castle appears from the mists, denizens of darkness begin to subjugate surrounding territories through brute force and unprecedented feats of magic. Alucard is half human, the product of a rare union between Dracula and a human woman named Lisa. Whilst Alucard bore witness to his mother's persecution at the hands of religious zealots, who stirred up townsfolk through accusations of her being a witch, he bears no bad will toward humankind, taking on the human trait of mercy, knowing that they have all been cast an ill lot. To do battle with the forces of evil within the castle, Alucard, unlike the Belmonts, wields a variety of weapons, favouring blades and scepters. He also takes a page out of the Belmont's Bible by making use of sub-weapons which consume hearts to deploy. Being a Prince of the Night, it's only natural that Alucard is going to want to extinguish every source of light there is along his adventure. Luckily for him, doing so furnishes him with the hearts necessary to use his sub-weapons, as well as cash and the sub-weapons themselves. Sometimes, he may even be lucky enough to find a useful item like an uncursed potion that's handy when dealing with those viscous ectoplasms. Every move Alucard makes is purposeful, with elegance and grace evident in his swift after-images. Reflecting his vampiric heritage, Alucard can also utilize powerful magical abilities, such as absorbing HP through the shedding of enemy blood, summoning spirits, and scorching foes that stand in his way with searing flames. His jumps are floaty, but adjustable mid-leap, dealing with platforming and knockback far better than any Belmont ever had before him. Alucard can equip up to 2 weapons, a weapon and a shield, or one two-handed weapon, which are assigned to the square and cross buttons. Some combinations of weapons and/or shields can produce unique effects when the buttons are pressed at the same time, or if fighting game half moon and half quarter moon directional input is used prior to pressing the attack button. There are many combinations and unique effects to find, so I would encourage experimentation, but I tended to like using the shield rod in combination with the varying shields for added benefits. Alucard cannot item crash the earlier mentioned sub-weapons like a Belmont can, though these weapons can be quite useful in their own way within various situations in the castle, such as against bosses and also, rarely, in navigating through the castle itself. While Symphony of the Night takes on traits of past titles within the Castlevania series, it also sets itself apart by eschewing the linear journey and adding RPG elements such as being able to change equipment and gaining experience from slaying enemies. Each enemy killed grants Alucard experience toward leveling up, though experience is issued comparative to the strength of the enemy defeated. If Alucard is levels above the enemy, experience earned is abysmal, and vice versa if he manages to fell a foe far greater in strength than he. I felt that this made the experience enjoyable, and added an element of risk to journeying into unfavourable areas. Do you want to spend the time chinking away at an enemy's health at the risk of being taken out in one hit? I found that, generally speaking, if I came across an enemy I thought that I couldn't handle, I'd go in a different direction. And that's what I really enjoyed about the game, because it didn't place any constraint on me. There are various passages and paths that you can take through the castle's various areas to get to the goal, and no two playthroughs are ever the same because of this, along with the rare drops that you may find from enemies. Even years later, replaying the game now, I found secrets and secret areas that I didn't even know had existed when I played the game previously, and this is also without looking it up on the internet beforehand. In addition to weapons, items, and equipment that could be found around the various domains of the castle, Alucard can also acquire relics. These items are unique and permit Alucard to perform extraordinary feats that he would not have been able to do had he forwent picking these up. For example, sources of light will only drop collectibles once Alucard has obtained the Cube of Zoe. He even needs to find specific relics to permit him to use his vampiric transformations into the Bat, Wolf, and Mist, which all present opportunities for further exploration of the castle grounds, such as the Bat's power of flight, the Wolf's speed and agility, and the Mist's penchant to effortlessly pass through the smallest of holes. Finally, Alucard can find cards that will allow him to summon a familiar, whom also gains experience as enemies are slain. Out of all the familiars, I tended to stick with the fairy, as she could point out hidden secrets, as well as use specific healing items to get rid of status ailments, and in some cases, revive Alucard should his face happen to connect with an enemy's weapon. In Alucard's adventure through the castle, he will meet a variety of other characters that will either help or hinder him. Within the first couple of rooms of the premises, Death will greet him and urge him to stop his advance. When Alucard descends, Death takes all of his equipment that had previously been used to one-shot difficult foes, stripping him of the ability to easily deal with the enemies and traps thrown in his way and forcing him to rethink his strategy. Maria Reynard, a girl once rescued by Richter Belmont, also makes an appearance, looking for her rescuer and providing hints along the way. I enjoyed these scenes, and also that they were voice acted, even if the voice acting is the typical B-grade stuff that people who have experience with the original Sony PlayStation should be very familiar with. Within the long library, the Master Librarian, though loyal to Dracula, will part with items and equipment, as well as scrolls to teach Alucard new spells in exchange for hard-earned cash. To achieve his goal, Alucard needs to traverse many different areas of the castle, navigating traps, hazards, and enemies, as well as fighting bosses to gain access to relics and open new paths. What I enjoyed about the game is that it encouraged backtracking by placing obstacles and out-of-reach ledges that Alucard needed items or abilities to reach. While some may groan at the idea of backtracking, each area and screen within the castle is unique, making navigation far easier than Jennifer's time in the Barrows Manor. Every location drips with detail, some oozing opulence through the gaudy statues and religious motifs scattered throughout. Together with the music, the mood is built uniquely for each setting through the delivery of the graphics and the monster placement, some places instilling a sense of dread upon the player. One of my favourite locations is the Royal Chapel, with its ascending staircase framed by statues of saints pushing down peasants, as veiled paintings of martyrs struggle to bear the burden of the cross in the background. The angle of the staircase means that enemies are at an advantage as Alucard continues his ascent, adding tension to the climb. And don't get me started on the bell towers in the higher peaks, where with Alucard's weight, each is pushed to toll the finality of humanity, bringing forth the impending rebirth of Dracula. I loved how each bell toll blended effortlessly into the background music of the stage, where an ethereal and ghostly choir sang a somber requiem for the lost. It's just all chef's kiss. The fact that Dracula's castle even has a chapel containing sacred and religious motifs, which juxtaposes the tones and themes of the series, especially in its use of demons and the macabre, uplifts this particular area and makes it my favourite of all the places that Alucard must fight his way through. If you happen to get lost, despite the excellent level design, you can press select at any time to open a map that will show you where you have been and where you currently are. You can also buy a map from the Master Librarian that shows you areas that you have not been to, which you can use to formulate a plan for exploring and mapping out where you want to go. Fast travel points do exist on the map, however they are few and far between, and when using them you cannot select which one you want to travel to, so are forced to cycle between them. This wasn't an issue for me, as there are only 5 of them in total, so it wasn't a bother. Save rooms are also scattered around the place, represented by a beating arcane shape that turns into a coffin that swirls and forms around Alucard, replenishing his health and MP. Make sure that you use these whenever you find them, as Symphony of the Night loves to place you into situations that may give you a false sense of security, and then suddenly you're viewing the game over screen. This happens not only with some of the rooms and enemy layouts, but also some of the boss rooms, which don't show you what the boss is until you've walked all the way forward, become barricaded in, and then realise that you're in way over your head. In addition to Alucard's beautiful design, enemies within the game are lovingly crafted with unique attack and death animations, accompanied with sound effects that make encountering each one a treat. Owl Knights, for example, will take a moment to mourn the loss of their avian companion should Alucard slaughter the owl before the night. Invisible hunting girls swing their fencing blades at you, curling up in pain with each successful strike upon them, until they moan in despair as you land the final blow. Equally, the Vandal swords laugh off Alucard's strike until the fatal one causes them to bemoan their fate. It's clear that a lot of attention to detail went into curating and crafting the adversaries that Alucard would face on his quest to stop his father. Additionally, the design and characterization of Alucard himself is a pastiche of Hideyuki Kikuchi's D, the Dampier vampire hunter famously illustrated by Yoshitaka Amano. It's difficult not to compare the two when observing them side by side. Both are offspring of a lord of vampires and a human woman. Both exhibit unnatural strength and beauty, can utilize powerful magic, and are as stoic as the ancient walls of Dracula's castle, ever enduring centuries of battles and darkness unpenetrated by all but those few courageous Belmonts. The soundtrack for Symphony of the Night was composed by Michiru Yamane, who incorporates intricate, ornamented melodies and counterpoint, which are characteristic of Baroque compositions. The use of harpsichord, pipe organs, and orchestral strings further invokes this classical style. Tracks like Dracula's Castle and The Tragic Prince showcase these elements, blending them with modern instrumentation to create a haunting and immersive atmosphere that complements the game's gothic aesthetic. If I was to choose my favourite track, it would be Wandering Ghosts, which plays in the Colosseum area of the castle, and invokes the image of spectators crowding the stands excited to see the next spectacle on display in the fighting pits. I felt that this track not only put you in the mood to continue the fight, but also pulled forth the memories of what the location used to be before Alucard traverses it in its current dilapidated state. The electric guitar carries a strong rock influence with distorted riffs, underpinned by a bass guitar with a rhythmic groove. It just soothes my soul. Castlevania Symphony of the Night masterfully blends the timeless struggle between light and dark with innovative gameplay, compelling characters, and intricate world design. Released in 1997, this game stands out for its non-linear exploration, RPG elements, and richly detailed environments, captivating players with its unique blend of gothic and modern aesthetics. Alucard's journey through Dracula's castle, equipped with diverse weapons and magical abilities, offers a dynamic and engaging experience that would resonate with players today. The meticulously crafted enemies, atmospheric sound design, and evocative soundtrack elevate the game's immersive quality. Symphony of the Night remains a beloved classic, celebrated for its depth, replayability, and enduring appeal within the gaming community. Should you play it? That's a 7 circles of hell yeah from me. Pick it up now so that you can go out this evening for pleasure. The night is still young. By the way, what are some of the games that you played at formative parts of your life that have left a great and deep impression on you? Let me know in the comments. This has been Benoit with a review of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Sony PlayStation. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more great Metroidvania content. Thanks for watching, as always. I appreciate you, take care, and bye bye for now.